airplanes have been confirmed by the Israeli Air Force to be stationed and massing in Iraq for strikes on Iran. OPEC says that oil will go to unlimited prices, conservatively $500 a barrel. If there is attack, that means you'll be paying close to $20 a gallon, according to them. The economy, which is completely based on petrochemicals, will completely implode. But they've got their New World Order shock troops, FEMA camps built. The real target of all of this is the United States. The New World Order wants to launch an attack on defenseless Iran so they can then claim Iran is launching terror attacks inside the U.S., which will actually be launched by the Pentagon. The true target is the American people and setting up a police state. Congress and the Homeland Security Committee in the House have discovered the martial law plans for 6 months. I've interviewed multiple members of Congress. We have articles up there today where they're now trying to subpoena the White House about the martial law plans. Karl Rove also was subpoenaed by Congress and fled the country and is now under indictment. You will never hear that on your national news, though, but if you Google it, it's all over the foreign press, and there's videos on YouTube of Congress and the indictments. Of course, that doesn't really matter because Barack Obama and John McCain are totally owned by the New World Order as well. Run on banks spells big trouble for U.S. Largest bank run since the Great Depression in the early 1930s here in the United States, kicking off in 1929. That is the mainstream headlines. U.S. Bank IndyMac seized amid intensifying crisis. 75% of the value has been lost the last 6 months. 50% of that loss was just Friday of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Total money laundering scams themselves. The fellow that owns one of the radio networks that syndicates the weekday show, Ted Anderson, took his fiancée down. He's got divorced and remarried. Took his fiancée down to Argentina, down in South America for a week. But I've been interviewing him while he's been down there. And they do not want to take dollars in Argentina, folks. The dollar's always been king. And now in Europe, they don't want to take dollars. I've had family that's been over there. Foolish Americans go over to Europe and, it costs $8 for a beer. And they think, oh, the Europeans have really got it bad, these poor schmucks. I saw a neocon with his website saying that. They don't understand. The Europeans aren't paying that in their currencies. It's the dollars. It's like if you have pesos in the past and tried to come up here and buy things. And if Americans could realize that the elites were devaluing our currency by design, we have the IMF World Bank documents from March of 2002 that leaked with Joseph Stiglitz's departure from the World Bank, we could have stopped all this. That's why every show, I warn you, I beg you, I plead. And I even walk up to reporters I know, and they on TV and radio, and they just say, Alex, the dollar's not devalued. We're not going to report that. And I can hand them a stack of foreign, Reuters, French news agency, Financial Times, and they just say, nope, that's not what's going on. There's been a problem with some mortgages, and that's why. And so, okay, hey, you want to let them totally destroy your financial future, then I'm going to get out of your way and just enjoy yourselves. I mean, the people of this country are willfully ignorant. You will hear nowhere on our media that they are devaluing the dollar. If I hear one more time that we are paying $4.20-something an average for a gallon of 87 octane unleaded, I'm gonna scream. But I know I'm gonna hear it. It's all I hear. It is not the speculation. It is that the dollar is imploding. 70+% of the cost increase. Remember, it doubled 5 years ago, and then it quadrupled. It's quadrupled in prices in 5 years. They're talking about another doubling by next summer, okay? And if they attack Iran, you can forget a year from now, you're going to be paying $8 a gallon within a month of that attack taking place. And let me tell you something, folks. The government is going to tax you at 80-something%. They're already saying it. The OECD's saying it. It doesn't matter what party comes in, you're not going to like what's about to happen. You better politically tell them now we're not going to pay back these debts because these debts are owed to central banks that are private that created these currencies and liquidity out of nothing. It is a monumental fraud. And they literally, on the globalists, on our credit and our name, bought the infrastructure of the world. They're all in secure assets and commodities. Okay, and now everybody else is headed to the door. There's tens of trillions in U.S. notes, greenbacks, and securities out there. They're all dumping them as fast as they can into commodities, and that's the 25% increase you've seen in oil. That's the doubling you've seen in gold. That's all of that. That's why corn and grain, I mean, there's other factors that feed in, but the main reason that you're seeing commodities explode in price is that people are looking for safe havens to dump their dollars. Oil now above $150 a barrel in weekend trading. Gold exploding. For the rest of the hour, we're joined by former Army intelligence. He, of course, lived all over the world from France to South Africa. The largest gold and silver broker in the world at one time. He owned all the big newsletters, including the, well, there are just so many of them, but the Gary Allen Report and so many others. And he's Bob Chapman, been forecasting all this. His website's theinternationalforecaster.com. Bob, you've been forecasting total depression along with Joseph Stiglitz and others, hyperinflationary depression within 2.5 years. Are you revising that? Are things accelerating and deteriorating faster? I mean, you said we could, it could blow a gasket any day, but you said sure thing within 3 years. What do you say now?
No, I think it's about the same. And the reason I say that is that these are deflecting events that are happening. We're talking about the massing of Israeli jets in Iraq for an attack. They want an attack on Iran for a number of reasons, but one of them is the same kind of reason that they invaded Iraq and Afghanistan in the first place, is to get everybody thinking about what's going on over there and not what's going on over here. And, of course, as you said, in order to control the American people and to enslave them. And that's what really this is all about. And you are right about that. And this whole economic event has been planned ahead of time. The taking down of the U.S. economy and its finances, and the world economy for that matter, is all part of a larger plan to bring about world government. And so what we're seeing here is a continuum, and the continuum for them has turned in, them being the Illuminati, the elitists, whatever you want to call them, has turned into a route for them. They are in serious trouble because the economic and financial collapse that we're facing could very well bring them down as well, the richest and the most powerful. And I think they're absolutely terrified because once that happens, these indictments and subpoenas and grand juries and the bringing forth of trials for these people are going to denude them of their wealth and power. And I think that's the way it's headed. And quite frankly, even though it's going to be a dreadful thing to contemplate and to face individually and as groups throughout the world in different countries, it's a good thing that the whole thing's coming down because finally it can be exposed and we can show the people what they haven't been listening to. And maybe it won't happen again for a long time. And we'll dig our way out of it. It's just going to be very difficult.
Now, the Los Angeles Times is the only U.S. publication, of course, as you know, all the foreign are admitting the truth, that foreign governments and others are considering, including the IMF and World Bank, no longer giving our Treasury bonds a AAA rating. A, do you think that's going to happen? And B, what will that precipitate?
Well, first of all, the chances of it happening are not great. These ghouls are in this thing together. Now, the only thing that could cause that would be a real hard and fast split between the European and the U.S. interests behind the scenes. And that could develop. They're very, very disturbed with getting bagged with 40% of the losses that occurred in subprime and also loans and other loans as well in the real estate region, we'll call it. And so maybe they are going to split. They've shown some signs of that. And the BIS letter that was put out last week alluded to that. And that's probably, in fact, what you're talking. It's now the degree of the pain. And what is the solution? It's pretty simple. You purge the system. You raise interest rates and you stop creating enormous amounts of money and credit. And banks and insurance companies and corporations and individuals are going to fail. and you're going to have unemployment at 35%. Well, you're going to get it there anyway. There's no way out of this thing. This is classical economics, and that is the solution. Purging. And we all got to go through it, whether we like it or not.
And if we don't purge, I mean, explain to people, if we don't purge, and all the top experts agree, by the way, you'll just never hear them on U.S. media, if we don't purge, it's 10 times worse, isn't it?
Absolutely, because you see Japan in 1992, they didn't purge. They went on and on and on and had a depression up until now. I mean, the stocks fell 70%, land fell 80%, homes fell 75%. And they still haven't recovered. They did wipe out a $1.2 trillion debt. They're down to a couple of $100 billion. But still, they didn't take the medicine. Why? Because the Fed told them not to.
So we've got to reboot now. We've got to reboot the system. We'll come back, talk about what you would do. Bob Chapman, internationalforecaster.com. I'm Alex Jones.